US Quad Ball is back in action this weekend, so let's take a look at a preview for the 2025-26 season. Hello and welcome to Snapshot, your place for all news, history, and just chatting about quad ball. And this weekend are the first games for the 2025-26 USQ season. So let's take a look at those games and let's take a preview of the whole season overall, see what teams and how they're going to be stacking up. So we start here. The first games of the year are going to be in the Midwest. Rust Belt is back. They will have the first games of the season. They're going to be playing in Ohio this Saturday with what they're calling the Tournament of the Stars. 4 teams are going to be in attendance. You've got Crucio, you've got Michigan State, Bowling Green, and Purdue. I think how I'm thinking about this weekend is I think Michigan State and Crucio are probably going to be the top contenders. I would expect Crucio to maybe be slightly favored, but I think the Spartans are going to have a good team as well. And then Bowling Green and Purdue, I'm very interested to see how they've grown. Both these teams were at Nationals last year, both competing in D2. I had the opportunity to play against Purdue in my final game as a college player, and they've got a pretty good team, and I'm excited to see them this weekend as they take on the competition. And then we get this. We get into some of the top contenders, I think, for the 2025-26 college scene. Virginia is going to be back in the finals last year, losing to Creighton, but they're returning a lot. We see they have a roster announcement here. It looks like 4 or 5 rookies that they've brought in, 20-player roster here. And having a lot of players already is just a good start for any college program. But they've got a lot of people returning, especially a lot of people that were playing in the finals last season. I think this team is going to be very strong and definitely in contention for another finals run. And then we get the announcement about David Avila coming back to Texas State for maybe the last time. We'll see. But David is going to be back with Texas State. I think this entire team is going to be reloaded. They're pretty much all coming back, I believe. This core is coming off of a championship with the San Antonio Soldados in MLQ. And this Texas State team is going to be back and fighting to get back into the semifinals and try and make the finals this year in D1. We're not too far removed from their finals appearance in D2. Last year, I believe they made the semifinals in USQ D1. And now this year, they're going to look to go all the way. So looking at the USQ college teams overall, I think your top 3 teams definitely going to be Texas State, Creighton, and Virginia. The Bobcats, Blue Jays, and Cavaliers, I think have the 3 best rosters, especially from last season. They've got the 3 most complete rosters from what we know. Of course, things can change and rosters can change once we actually see stuff get announced. But I think these 3 teams are going to be the most ready for the season. I think a lot of teams, from the information that we have, that are going to be in contention as well. Arizona State, bringing a lot of their core back from last year, that played in D1 and did decently well last year. I think they're going to be in contention for a D1 bid again. I think Missouri should be back in that conversation as well. The Illini, I think, are going to be doing very good as well. I think Illinois going to just be growing as a unit, and they'll be ready to fight more in D1. Boston University, I think, will be the best team in Massachusetts, that Northeast region this year. And they should be able to walk to a D1 bid and compete for definitely a semifinal spot. I would not be surprised to see Boston in this year. And then UTSA, I think they're going to be losing a couple pieces to graduation. But UTSA should have enough on the back end to be able to still contend, especially for a D1 bid. And then there's a number of other teams that I think can contend for D1 bids. And if not D1, then these should be the cream of the crop in D2. I think UT and Sam Houston, some more Southwest teams, they're going to be full of veterans. They're also loading with some new pieces, from what I hear from the Sam Houston camp. But I think they're going to be ready to contend, certainly in D2, if not for a D1 bid. Middlebury, coming off of a D2 championship, I think could ride that momentum into a D1 bid. Rutgers will be playing a lot of games in MQC this season, was just announced. I think they're going to be ready to compete for a D1 bid. And then Case Western, as we mentioned, they'll be playing games this weekend, so we'll get a good look at how good that team is. I expect Case Western to be the best team this weekend. maybe tested by Michigan State as well. We will see. But I think Case Western has a shot at getting a D1 bid this year. And even if they don't, I think Case Western could be a D2 finalist. That kind of season for them. And then we got the announcement just a couple days ago, Reign QC, a new team coming onto the scene. This team is stacked with players from top to bottom, getting players from the old Warriors core, a lot of players from Stampede, the Midwest area, Creighton. It's a younger roster, and I think this roster has a ton of talent available to it. Miguel Esparza is also going to be on this team. So they are definitely ready. This is the full roster right here. And I mean, top to bottom, you've got stars at every position. And I think this team is simply going to wreak havoc in the club scene. Not to mention, I believe that they have what's probably going to be the best seeker line in USQ. Joe Goulet and Ryan Davis sounds like an incredible 1-2 punch that I don't know if any team is going to be able to compete with. Not to mention how good they're going to be in the chaser game with so many capable scorers on this team. I think Reign QC is ready to be the best team in the club scene this year. But we got a couple other roster announcements. The Boston Lobsters, a new team this season. Ethan Dillon is going to lead the way with a lot of other teams, or a lot of other players that you've seen in MLQ. Brian Mulcahy on this team, Emma Persons on this team, Andrew Steinberg. You've got a lot of good players that are ready to compete for this Boston team. And I think that they're going to compete a lot with some of these top teams. And I wouldn't be shocked to see them in their first year go on a run at champs. We also know that this team is coming, the New Jersey Mob, led by Leo Freed, Lindsay Morella, and Molly Potter. As of what I know, I haven't seen any kind of roster announcement for this team just yet, but any team led by Leo, Lindsay, and Molly is going to be competitive. Those three players are simply going to attract talent, and even if they don't get all the talent in the world on their team, just having those three players alone is going to be enough to strike fear into teams. And when you have what I believe is the best player in the world in Leo Freed, it's going to be hard to count this team out of anything. So last thing that I want to talk about, here's how I kind of see the current state of all the club teams. You got to give respect to Boom Train, in my opinion. Heat, I believe the Austin core, the Austin Outlaws core, the longtime core, they weren't competing in MLQ this summer, but I've heard that they should be back for one more season for Heat. That has not been confirmed, and that could change, but I believe they should be back, and that Heat team will always be competitive, especially with some of the UTSA and Texas State players potentially joining their club team as well. That Reign team that we talked about, I think is going to be insane, and I think anything lower than a semifinals appearance for this team would be a disappointment. And that New Jersey team, we don't know any of their roster, but when you have Leo Freed as the centerpiece with Lindsay Morella and Molly Potter, you're probably going to be in a very good position to contend for a championship. Remember that Leo led Connecticut last year to the finals, losing to the Warriors. So I think whatever team that they put together, they're going to be able to contend. I don't know if Bosnia is going to be back for this year. I believe that they will be. I haven't seen anything to the contrary. But if they are back, they should be contending for a D1 bid. They should be able to get one. And it wouldn't shock me to see them go on a run at champs. That Lobsters team, as we mentioned, I think is going to be very good, ready to contend in year one. And then TC Frost, definitely a team to watch out for. They are every year. That Minneapolis Monarchs team made the semifinals at MLQ champs. So even you could look at them in that top tier. I think this tier of teams is definitely a tier that can win champs and should be stacking wins throughout the year. I just like these as the favorites just a little bit more right now. But this Frost team, as far as I know, a lot of their players are coming back. I think they're going to lose a couple of players to this Reign team, which is why maybe you might see them take a step back a little bit. And then some of these teams here, these are all the teams that made the top 12 at champs, unless they've said otherwise that the team is not coming back. But Slice should be back, should be contending for a D1 spot. Chaos, led by my good friend Caleb Williams, they should be contending. They made top 8 at champs this last year, and I believe that they're going to be ready to contend. And this is a team that I think could make the semifinals if everything falls their way. Then you've got the West Coast teams, Bay Area and Lost Boys. I think either one of these teams can definitely make a semifinals run on their day. And there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to make another D1 bid. Then the Copperheads, definitely a surprise team at Champs last year, but a pleasant one at that. I've got a lot of friends on this team, so it was great to see them do well. But beating Boom Train, going 4-0 in their group, and then I believe making the Elite Eight at Champs, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's a team that's ready to build on that result last year, and should be able to contend in D1 again, maybe make another Elite Eight appearance, and maybe even go farther. We will see. And then DCQC, a longtime team that's, you pretty much know what you're going to get with them, but they're always going to be a strong force to be reckoned with. And I think that team shouldn't be going anywhere, should be contending in D1, and we will see if they can go any further than that. And then Carolina, the Reapers, another team that you kind of know what you're going to get from them, but also they're a team that you can never count out in any of their games. Definitely a team that can cause some upsets, can definitely cause some chaos at Champs and in the regular season, but I don't know if the upside is going to be there to go on a run. But overall, this is how I'm feeling for the club division of teams this year, and this is my picks for college. If I had to give championship picks right now, I'm going to go with Texas State. I think just another year of building that core together, with David Avila coming back, with San Antonio Soldados having just won MLQ champs. I think Texas State is probably the most complete team. Obviously, Creighton and Virginia could do it as well. And then maybe it's an overreaction because we just saw this team get announced, but that Reign roster looks incredible on paper, and it's going to be different to see how they all mesh together. But I think that team is going to be really good. By the way, shout out to Boom Train, them in Chicago Prowl. If you missed it, played on the field of the Chicago Fire, the soccer team, at halftime. That was really cool to see. So shout out to Boom Train for making that happen. But these are my general thoughts on the 2025-26 season. Super excited for the upcoming games this weekend. We'll see how they go, and we'll see how these predictions age at the end of the season. Thank you for watching Snapshot. Let me know who you think is going to win D1 in both the college and club scenes. Let me know who you think the top contenders are. And let's keep this growing discussion about quad balls. Super excited for the season to start. And that's all from me, Jackson Vaughn, signing off.